Hey, hi, how are you? My name's Felt, and welcome back to some Destiny 2. If y'all follow me on any other platform, Twitch or Blue Sky, for example, you've probably seen me talk about the fact that I have finally solo flawlessed all dungeons in the game on Hunter. I have finally done it. It was a long endeavor, but I have in fact solo flawlessed all dungeons of the game on Hunter, so I'm here to give advice about it. I'm here to talk about what builds I've used for all the dungeons, what weapons I recommend for all the dungeons, and how you don't actually need to use Vault of Glass armor to beat Vesper's Host solo. I know, that's what like all the other Hunter videos talk about doing. I did it without it. I even have video proof of it, which will probably be up on the channel before this video comes out. If it's not, then you'll be seeing that solo soon. I'm going to do something a little more different and special with it, so if it's not out yet, that's why. Let's give you what you want, dear viewer. We're going to start by just giving you all the information that you could possibly want about what I used to solo flawless most of the dungeons in the game, the armor set that I recommend that will make it through all of them, and the weapons that I recommend you use, and all the special things thereabouts. I'm going to blitz through the basic idea of what I would recommend for almost every dungeon in the game, and then I will go into more detail about other stuff. The link to the current build that you see in front of you will be in a dim link down in the description below. First up is armor. You don't need the Vault of Glass armor, contrary to what I've seen so many other videos say. Is it the best in slot choice for you? Yes. That armor set is incredibly strong. The extra orbs you make on your body are really good at healing you and keeping you alive. The extra burst of whatever that happens when you take critical health damage is really strong as well. It's unnecessary. I did not use it for a single one of my solo flawlesses. Even Vesper's Host, one of the hardest in the game, I did with this exact build you see in... Okay, it wasn't this exact build. It was this exact build that you see in front of you. I had different weapons on at the time because they felt more comfortable to me. But if you're not a person who has a 4-piece Vogue set ready to go for this type of stuff, just go farm the 4-piece Nessus set. You can farm this literally day in, day out from that same exact Lost Sector on Nessus, and you will never stop getting pieces of loot from it. Just make sure your ghost is set up for the right mods and go to town. You can run the Lost Sector in probably about 5 minutes maximum, getting a piece of loot every 5 minutes. You'll also be getting tons of exotic engrams, which will help you get the exotic that I think is the best possible choice for any solo flawless stuff, Fortune's Favor. You get free overshields if you kill stuff while at full health. When you're out of combat, you'll slowly regenerate into an extra large overshield that sits on top of everything. And when you have an overshield, you just do extra damage, which if you're the only one in the content that's doing damage because you're solo, you want to do as much extra damage as possible. Plus, this makes it so that after bosses have gotten over their, oh, you stunned me into my damage mechanic thing, you have an overshield to eat some damage before you actually start taking damage personally. Weapon-wise, not even joking, the M17 Fast Talker is in fact one of the best weapons that I can recommend for this. Attrition orbs, target lock means you just shoot at whatever target's in front of you and you do a ton of damage, and you'll spawn orbs and it will be pretty dang strong at doing what you want. You can also get this to roll with accelerated assault on it, which means that dealing sustained damage loads ammo from the reserves or cools down some heat, and increases its damage, and it procs quite often. You can get that to roll on this thing. You can also spam buy these in the Tharsis port, so if you don't have the next recommendation, use this because you can spam buy them for like 1,000 credits. You will eventually find a good roll, even if it doesn't have the enhanced, what do they call these things nowadays? Origin trait. Even if it doesn't have the fancy origin trait of aggravated assault, you will still be able to have attrition orbs and target lock on this thing, and it will be very, very good. Now, if you're an old head, or you just actually enjoy playing Iron Banner, you probably have a multi-mock CCX with the exact roll of Attrition Orbs Kinetic Tremors. There was actually, I believe it was around the time that Rite of the Nine came into the game. They gave away a multi-mock that had Attrition Orbs Kinetic Tremors. This thing is a monster. This thing will stagger any Ultra that you're fighting. It will be spitting out orbs constantly, and it is just a really good gun, because you also get field tested, which just makes the gun feel really, really good. It makes the gun feel super stable, have lots of range and handling and reload speed, so it just feels like an incredibly powerful primary weapon. If you do have one, or you don't mind playing Iron Banner to get one, highly recommend using this if you have it. I actually prefer this to the Fast Talker, but I find that the Fast Talker is actually a little bit easier to farm right now. For your energy slot, absolutely, if you have the new pulse rifle from SRL, use it. Heal clip on the rocket pulse is crazy. You can get stuff like aggregate charge or incandescent or sword logic in the second column. I do not believe it can get elemental honing, but being able to only use aggregate charge makes up for the fact that you don't have access to that. Plus, heal clip is crazy. The old Sai Eterna is a great replacement for it as well. If you just really want to make sure you have a rocket pulse of some sort, this can be farmed from the vendor in the tower. I'll probably put up some footage on the screen of me showing where you can buy it from. I recommend getting Elemental Honing in the second column. Eddy Current's actually an okay first column for a hunter because you're probably using Ascension, so you get crazy handling and reload speed. Elemental Honing is nice because it's really easy to proc 3 to 4 stacks, which is a really, really big damage boost. And the heavy weapon is simple. It's the truth. Use the truth. The truth is the #1 DPS gun in the game right now, in my opinion. This thing is broken beyond all belief. I think that there is no reason to use anything else most of the time. 9 times out of 10, just put on truth, spam rockets, go to town. If you have the Catalyst, you can try and do a little bit of prep work by trying to get Reaper's Tithes stacked up before you go to damage. If you can get Reaper Tithes 4 stacked before you go to damage, you will obliterate bosses with a lot more damage than you would think otherwise. Plus, you will start getting the Prototype True Seeker going, which means you get to fire faster, and they spawn cluster bombs when they hit the enemy. Incredibly, incredibly stupidly good rocket launcher. There is very little that I will recommend that is not this, outside of some hyper-specific mentions that I will have later in the video. On average, though, Truth's just your best choice. It's so good. Artifact-wise, it's the Queen's Foil Censer, and there's really only 2 things about the Queen's Foil Censer that truly matter. Argent Ordnance to buff Truth, and Solar Operative to buff your personal damage. Solar Operative is a little weird. At, I believe, 25 stacks, you get a 30% damage boost. I could be misremembering the numbers right now. I apologize. Feel free to correct me down in the comments below. But the bottom line is that this is a damage boost that stacks on top of everything else you do, and all you need to do is make sure you get precision kills before you get to the boss. It is not very difficult to stack, and it is very strong. These 2 things are really the 2 things that matter. I often ended up not actually getting any value out of a lot of the rest of the things on the artifact. Wished into Being was kind of nice. Sometimes I would spawn like 3 orbs of power when I killed something, when otherwise I would have made just 1, but all you really need is Solo Operative Argent Ordnance, and you will be able to shred your way through stuff. Now, you might be confused as to why I'm not saying, like, oh, you need Survivable and these great perks on the way there. If you can kill the boss in 1 or 2 phases, that is less time you are in the dungeon, potentially able to mess up and die. Subclass-wise, it's Prismatic Hunter. Prismatic Hunter is too good. Don't even try and do anything else. You get access to Transcendence, which is like 5% of a damage buff when you activate it before going into DPS. You get access to Shadow Shot, which means you get to have the 35% debuff applied to any boss you're hitting, and because you're not going to be bothering to do anything else besides tether it and then spam Truth 80% of the time, that's really good to have that 35% debuff. You can swap the super for other stuff, for like transitions and add clear stuff, but Deadfall's just a crazy good super. I don't see why you'd ever use anything else. Gambler's Dodge to get back more melees because I like it. Triple Jump because it's triple jump. I like Withering Blade and Grapple because that way I can just get back a ton of darkness energy when I need it, because I will usually be using my energy slot to spam kill stuff, either with the rocket pulse or like a fusion rifle or something, depending on the exact piece of content I'm in. And so as a result of that, I'll probably have a ton of light energy, and these just help make up the differences. I like Ascension because, in case you don't know, Amplified is damage reduction. And because of how often you'll get your class ability back, hitting Ascension is just really good. Plus, there is some tech with Threaded Spectre. In case you don't know, you can Ascension, and if you don't move your character, you will land on top of your Threaded Spectre. If I'm good at editing, I should overlay some footage of me doing that in the Vespers Host final boss fight here, showing you how you can just sit on top of something and just never have to be on the ground and be at a distance and be able to just sit out of any melee range enemies and just be able to spam your rocket launcher from a distance. It's great. Fragment-wise, I recommend Protection because you want to be less dead, and Protection gives you damage resistance. Facet of Dawn to make yourself radiant because, once again, we are trying to stack as much damage as possible, as often as possible. It only lasts like 5 seconds, but that's one of the reasons I use Withering Blades. I can throw more of them to stay radiant. Facet of Hope, because whenever we have an elemental buff, we get a faster class ability. Amplified and Radiant are elemental buffs. This is a bit of a hot choice. You can replace Facet of Ruin with a lot of other stuff. Because my armor that I have for this build was never truly 110% perfect, i.e. I didn't have weapon main stat with weapon tuners all across the board. I have Facet of Ruin in here to give me 10 extra weapon stat, so that I can be at a flat 200 weapon stat without having to worry about it. We don't use anything else about this. And Facet of Purpose, which is very important. Anytime we pick up an orb, we'll get a tiny bit of overshield, which synergizes with Fortune's Favor, because whenever we have an overshield, Fortune's Favor is like, you have an overshield? Bet, damage buff. Alright, all the stuff you care about's out of the way. If all you wanted was the build that I used for stuff, there you go. All those people gone now? Good, great. Let's talk a bit more in-depth about everything. Like I said, I could not be bothered to farm a Vogue armor set. By the time I was starting to try and farm out new armor that was from raids and dungeons, because I wasn't farming out the other new stuff, Vogue had already rotated out, and it wasn't the easy-to-do farm for the week, and I really didn't want to LFG master Vogues. It just didn't seem like fun. Plus, I don't know if Fireteam Finder is bugged or what, but it won't let me make a Fireteam Finder for Master Vogue anyways. And that's the only way to get tier 5 loot, is to do the master version. It's not like it's hard, but... Armor stats, as you can see, I really like having 100 supers so I can get as many supers as possible. This is mostly for like ad clear encounters or where the boss DPSs are pretty close back to back, because then I can just throw out my super without worrying about whether I'm getting it back, because I will get it back. Minimum 100 class. If I could get more class in this build, I would, but like I said a minute ago, my armor is actually not perfect. It's just very, very good. It's not perfect. If it was perfect, I'd have a little more than 100 class and a tiny bit less than 100 super. But I will make do with what I have. If you have over 100 class, popping a class ability gives you a little overshield, which does synergize with Fortune's Favor to give you that bonus damage. It is quite nice if you can make it work. As for armor mods, because we're not using our super for damage on this build, I have a dynamo, a kinetic siphon, because I was using a kinetic weapon for most of my runs, but you can replace this with any siphon you want, and then a harmonic siphon to make it so that I can make stuff with void. Which, once again, these two can be replaced with anything for whatever you're using, whatever weapons you're using that you want to make sure you're making orbs from, just replace these with those. Gloves-wise, heavy-handed because I use grapple melee and I use withering blades, so I'm actually meleeing a lot, so making orbs when I hit melees is pretty good. Plus, I make it so that I get extra class ability energy when I do damage with a grenade or melee, so that I just always have the ability to pop Ascension. Your resist mods are your resist mods, resist as necessary. Your weapon surges are typically going to be void, because truth is that good. Reaper, time dilation, powerful attraction. Man, this sounds like every other build I do. It's almost like a lot of your builds are always set in stone from the moment you try and make them. Now let's talk about other weapon options. I said the fast talker and the multi-mock are like your best primary weapons. They kind of are, because we actually have a lot of powerful energy slot specials now. But if you want to use an energy slot primary, you can use something like Festival Flight. Slice Attrition Orbs means you're making tons of orbs and debuffing everything. Or just a Mint Retrograde, because Mint Retrograde is kind of cracked and good. Praxic Blade is also still an incredibly powerful weapon that is a special weapon, and if whatever content you're doing is not like something you need to play at a distance for, slap on Praxic Blade, go to town, smack some stuff. It's still very, very good. For the energy slot, I did talk a lot about the rocket pulses because they are insanely good. I actually really want to recommend the Null Composure here. Reconstruction Reservoir Burst is a hell of a roll that synergizes with the fact that you're running triple void boosts on your boots anyway, so this thing will be hitting like a Mack truck. It is very, very good, and this is actually the weapon that got me through my solo flawless of Vesper's Host. This is what I used during the final boss encounter to make sure I killed all those clones, because it two-shots them pretty easily. I think if you have liquid coils, it might like fully two-shot them, but I like just shooting faster with accelerated coils. You can also just use like any primary you want that's an elemental primary, like Kindled Orchid with Repulsor Place Destave, Mida Mini Tool with Healing Clip Incandescent, any type of arc primary that has like Jolting Feedback. I just have the Snipe Hunt with me because I have one with Jolting Feedback Chaos Reshaped. I know this has some weird bugs with it right now. It's mostly fine, don't worry about it. Because we are not healing via like Restoration, it doesn't interfere with our build too much. Another weapon that deserves mentioning is the Still Hunt. There are a couple of bosses across all the dungeons that Still Hunt's actually a better choice than Truth, because they take more precision damage than a lot of other sources. Big example is the Giant Harpy in Spire of the Watcher. I would actually recommend switching to a Nighthawk build with Still Hunt for that boss, but honest to God, you could probably still Truth it to death and it would be fine. Other power weapon recommendations, some form of Eager Edge sword to get you through stuff without dying. It's really good for recovering from bad jumps. The refurbished A499 is good for any precision bosses, like the Harpy. The Queenbreaker bow, sorry, it's not the bow anymore, is it? We're in Destiny 2, not 1. Sorry. Old head talking. Queenbreaker is very good for other precision stuff where you don't want to change up as much of your build. you can just put on Queenbreaker and just swap your artifact over to Tablet of Ruin, because Tablet of Ruin has particle reconstruction on it, giving you just basically infinite shooting of Queenbreaker, because if you have its catalyst done, you have rewind rounds on it, and it'll just slowly melt down whatever you're doing. I actually recommend this for the final boss of Sundered Doctrine. It is a little bit easier to do something like Queenbreaker on them than Truth. Truth's a little scary because all the ads keep spawning the whole time and you might blow yourself up, but you can use it. I've seen plenty of videos of people doing it. Queenbreaker is just here because, like I said, it's a little bit safer. You just don't get access to the better artifact. Final mention is Wolfbane. Wolfsbane? Wolfsbane. The big-ass axe from Helion whatever. Thing is crazy on any melee range boss. Ekthar from Ghosts of the Deep. Harrow from the Equilibrium dungeon. I can't remember their name, but the first boss of Warlord's Ruin. This thing will shred them to pieces. And in case you don't know, the Quicksilver and Nanites that you get do in fact heal you with this thing. So you can just run Burning Ambition and just shred them with extra Scorch and Ignitions. You can also put on Attrition Orbs if you're worried about dying and you want that extra little bit of healing off Attrition Orbs. It'll probably keep your Overshield up better. I used Burning Ambition refit for the whole thing because I just liked doing extra damage and killing stuff faster. The Nanites do heal you, I promise. It might not seem it because they sometimes have trouble tracking to you, but they do heal you. I have done plenty of stuff with this as my main weapon. It is wonderful. One little mention that gets its own thing. I know Hierarchy of Needs is really, really strong right now. I actually used this for my clear of Seer, the final boss of the Equilibrium dungeon. I thought it worked really well. You can use this as a potential backup for when you don't really want to use Truth and you just want to spam a bow to kill stuff. It is quite good, but you will have to be on Void Hunter and not on Prismatic Hunter, and I find that Prismatic is actually safer because of Threaded Spectre stuff. It was a little bit scary to be running around with a bow as my primary weapon as well, so I'd actually be using a bow and an SMG, and then a machine gun, so it really was just the bow for my DPS. It's good, but unless you're planning on like loadout swapping right at the end, right before DPS, you might not want to use this. One boss honorable mention that needs mentioning here is the Zoetic Lock Set from Sundered Doctrine. That boss is freaking weird. I'm pretty sure you can just truth spam it down. You will probably get very good damage and value out of it. That's not what I did when I cleared it on my hunter. I actually swapped to a Blade Barrage build where I used Parasite. I would shoot Parasite at the pillar between two of the locks, and then I would just Blade Barrage, slam dunk the lock set itself right afterwards. I know that there's actually a way to perma-ignition them right now, apparently, to where you will just ignite one and then they will all spam ignite each other. I don't know if that's intended. I don't know if that's a bug. I don't know anything about it, to be completely honest. If you know how to do it, it'd probably be a pretty easy way to do it. I really just preferred doing the hit the wall between the two lock sets with Parasite, hitting one of them with a super, and then just kind of going back to ad clearing to refarm out a new super. Kind of the old style that Titans did when the dungeon first came out, if you know what I'm talking about. And that's that. That's the video. That's the end of me yapping about what I used throughout like all my different solo flawlesses, or what I would recommend for solo flawlesses. If you have questions, concerns, comments, whatever, leave them down in the description below. I'm slowly running out of Destiny videos to make, dear viewers. I have one big final series planned that I'm pretty excited for, where I go through a bunch of the dungeons and do a bunch of challenge runs on them. Those might be only streamed over on Twitch, so make sure that you follow me over there. I'll also be continuing to post stuff on this channel, though, in terms of other content, roguelikes, roguelites, indie games, lots of Deadlock, because their new ranked system looks great. I'm halfway through my placement matches at this point. It's been really fun. Thanks for hanging out and watching. Y'all are cool and I appreciate you, and I hope to catch you all in the next one.